Kaya Wanju, hello and welcome everyone. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land where we meet. For me, that's the Whadjuk Noongar people. I want to pay my respects to their continuing connection to land, waters and community, and to elders past and present in the spirit of reconciliation, and to First Nations people everywhere. The second thing I always really like to do at these webinars and workshops is just take a moment to thank you. So whether you're here in person today, whether you're listening in the background, whether you're listening into the recording, I want to thank you for everything that it took for you to be here. I know it's not easy to carve out this bit of time. Today will be about 25 minutes of information for you. And if you're here in person, you can ask questions at the end of that once we stop recording. But I really know it's not easy to arrange things to be here. So I appreciate everything it took for you to be here. And even more than that, I really appreciate everything you're doing as a parent. I know it was certainly world changing for me. And when I became a parent, it's a huge job. It's kind of relentless. So I really appreciate everything you're doing. And what I wish for parents is that as we walk down the street, random strangers kind of cheer us on and pat us on the back because we really deserve that. It's a big job. So thank you for everything you do for your kids. You're the sun, moon, and stars for them. You really make a huge difference with everything that you're doing. So I work with Miralinga. We're an organisation in Perth in Western Australia that exists to support the needs of children and families. And the workshop today is based on hand-in-hand parenting. I'm a hand-in-hand parenting certified instructor. And our tagline is to help parents when parenting gets hard. And that's certainly what happened for me as a parent. Stuff was pretty hard, and finding this approach really made a huge difference. My name is Belinda. I've got two boys who are now 14 and 11. So I've been in this parenting gig for a while. And I'm really grateful to have some of these ideas. So today, the key messages for this workshop, which is all about new mums and dads, so those who've got really little babies in that first year. The key messages are the importance of connection, you setting up a support system for yourself, and then I'm going to share some key tools, really simple ideas that can impact your relationship, your attachment relationship with your baby, and really help to build a strong foundation for their brain development and for their growth over the course of their entire life. And we know that the first 1,000 days of a baby's life are really important. So pregnancy up to age 2 is like this fertile ground that can have such a beautiful impact. And I always encourage parents when they hear that not to use it as a way to give themselves a hard time and worry, but to just know that you are enough, what you're bringing is enough, and to know that it is a really precious, beautiful time in that first 1,000 days. So we're going to be talking about special time with your baby, stay listening to your baby, which are a couple of tools that I'll explain. I'm also going to just mention the importance of dads. Fathers really are primary parents and have such an important role. Research is super clear on that, and actually the experience of everyone I work with and my own experience tells me that too. And finally, a really key message is you getting some emotional support yourself. So we need that physical support, maybe of meals being cooked for us, a little bit of time for a shower maybe, but also emotional support. And hand-in-hand parenting has a tool for that called listening partnerships, and it can really make a big difference for parents. So I'm going to start with connection. The last 30 or 40 years of brain research and science tells us that children need connection in the same way that they need food and water. It's just absolutely pivotal and foundational. It is what provides the context and the foundation for all of their future learning and development. So every time you're responding with warmth, every time you're holding your baby gently, lovingly, you're actually building their brain. Like those are all little building blocks to build up their bodies and brains in a way that allows them to engage with the world with curiosity, with enjoyment, and with a sense that, I'm a good person and the world is a good place. So connection is so powerful. From the moment they're born, everything in them is built to connect with us. So their eyes actually see best at about 20 centimetres. And that's because that's around about the distance they are from us while we're holding them. So their systems are built to be in a connection and attunement with at least one main caregiver, but preferably lots of humans who really care, who really love them, and who are really able to be with them. And that's hard for us parents with our busy lives, quite distracted, lots going on. But babies are really built for this, and that's why I think they're so good at drawing us in. You see adults very often go, oh yes, I'm right here with you, and just really being drawn in by these beautiful babies because they need that connection to grow and to learn and to develop. It's really powerful. Brain science. It's great to know a little bit about these vehicles that we're moving through the world in. It's a bit like I have a new car. Don't really know much about it, but I know the petrol that it needs to run, and I've got a sense of, how to drive. I've got a sense of how to make it work. And it's a bit the same with our brains and bodies. If we have some basic information, it can really help us understand what's going on for our babies. So this really basic understanding of brain science can be explained with what we call the hand model of the brain. Dan Siegel, who's a neuroscientist, came up with this. And if you make a fist with your hand, and those people who can see me at the moment, you can see my hand here. The wrist is the brain stem, and that's the part that deals with life processes like breathing and with the survival instinct, so the fight, flight, or freeze responses. Built in around that brain stem is the limbic system. So in the middle of your fist is the safety, the social emotional system that's detecting safety all the time. And our babies are born with a fully developed, absolutely ready to go limbic system. That part of the brain is really, it's really online very early on. And it's the part that determines, am I safe? Is everything okay? If babies sense that they are safe, that they're okay, then and only then can the prefrontal cortex come online. So with that hand model of the brain, your fingers folded over are demonstrating that prefrontal cortex. That's where reasoning, logic, organisation, short-term memory, impulse control comes in. And in fact, there's really very little of that for the first few years of a child's life. Little children are creatures of feeling. They feel, then act, rather than thinking, then acting. So that's very helpful as your baby gets older to know that it's not a decision or a choice on their part when they start to tantrum or whatever. That's just their brains not able to access that reasonable, logical, rational part. But what they can access when they're feeling safe. If they're not feeling safe for any reason, and it may be that we're offering beautiful safety, but there's kind of a blockage in the system and they just can't sense it, they're worried, they're sick, there's some problem, they flip their lid and lose access to that thinking part of the brain. So we're a bit the same. When we're stressed, worried, overwhelmed, exhausted, isolated, we flip our lids too. And that's why we need a lot of practical support when we move into this new phase of being a parent. So really simple things. I think the first thing is to know that you deserve that support. You're growing a human. You're shaping a little soul. It's the biggest work there is. So you actually deserve tons of support. Asking someone, when people offer you help, I would really try hard to make it a rule to say, if someone says, oh, if I can do anything to help, that you pick one little thing and say, yes, I'd love it if you could cook me a meal. Yes, I'd love it if you could come over and do my dishes. I'd so appreciate it if you could watch my older child for an hour. Just one little thing so that you practice saying, yes, I'd love it for you to do this specific thing. You get to decide how the support looks, and you may need a break from visitors, particularly in those early days. It's great to have a gatekeeper in the early days as well. So dads, this can be a really nice role for you to be checking in with mum and bub and saying, how are you feeling? Are you up for visitors today? Really social people may love to have loads of visitors. But if you're a bit more introspective, then it's great for you to have a gatekeeper who can take on that role of saying, oh, you know, she's really not up for much today. Do you mind just staying for 20 minutes or half an hour? And then really gently, warmly holding to that limit for any visitors. So setting up that support network can make a huge difference to our enjoyment of parenting and to our ability to connect with our children. So what we're really doing here is nourishing ourselves as parents so that we're in turn able to nourish our babies. So one of the beautiful ways you can nourish your little one right from the start is what we call special time in hand-in-hand parenting. You might choose to call it something else, mummy and me time, daddy and me time. My boys, when they were older, called it wild playtime. But essentially, once you've fed, changed, looked after your baby in every way that they need physically, and you know everything's, you know, it's a good moment, you just hold them close and follow their cues. So how this looks with an older child is you actually set a timer and follow their lead and delight in whatever play they bring. With a baby, setting the timer can feel a bit strange, but it's actually a really good practice to get used to really delineating, this is my time to focus on you, and I'm not going to answer the phone. I'm not going to do the dishes. I'm not going to have a cup of tea. I'm just going to be with you 110%. And we call this a connection vitamin. That kind of really intense, warm, focused delight is like, you know, it's like broccoli, blueberries, all the superfoods in one for your child's brain. And just setting up a little 5 minutes of that each day, or if you've got it in the tank, up to maybe 20 minutes, that's a long time. So I'd start with 5 minutes. That 5 minutes is really going to beautifully connect you. And a lot of parents say to me, I already do this every day. And with a baby, many people do spend hours worshipping their beautiful baby, looking at them, adoring them. But I think the new thing about this, the practice about this, is being uninterruptible. So you're kind of learning to focus your attention just on this one thing, just being with your baby for that 5 minutes without answering the phone if it goes off, without chatting to anyone else, just really being with them. So that's a beautiful practice to do with your baby and to build in. And as they get older, oh my goodness, it becomes such a gorgeous anchor point for your relationship. And it becomes a really lovely way to learn about what's going on in their inner world, because they'll want to play certain games. You know, let's play schools, mummy. You be the teacher and you shout at me. And, you know, they let you know what's happening in their day through this time. And they also use it to really get their needs met. So they might want to play very physical games. I've got little 14-month-old humans in my life, and they love to play very physical games already. And so it's that sense that their bodies need that physicality. Little babies, 3, 4, 5, 6 months old, may just need your attention as they explore the world around them. And you can just, without directing them or trying to teach them, just be sports casting. So talking about what they're doing. Oh, yes, it's a block. Oh, you like the taste of that block? Delicious block. Yum, yum, yum. Oh, what's next? Oh, yes, the light is on. So you're kind of just narrating what they're doing without trying to direct them, and just delighting in them. And following the giggles wherever they happen is a good way to go as well. So that's special time, and I really recommend that for all parents to build in a practice of special time. Now, stay listening is a really interesting new idea, I think. As parents of little ones, I think for me anyway, I had a real sense that if my baby was crying, I was doing something really wrong. I would never advocate leaving a baby to cry alone. I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that that's not the best thing to do. However, there are times when, you know, we just don't have it in the tank. But what we suggest with Stay Listening is that if you know all other things are taken care of, acknowledging that your baby is a whole human with all the feelings you have, then you can hold your baby close. Look at their eyes, offer them a warm eye contact, offer them a loving tone. I'm here with you. Oh, sweetheart, I know. Yeah. Oh, it's so hard. There's so many new things. And just be with them while they process their day. And I like to use the analogy of if you meet up with an old friend and you're having a lovely time together and you're connected and feeling good, and they say, "Oh, I'm right here with you. How are you?" And you often, maybe not often, but sometimes you will burst into tears and say, "Actually, this is really hard and that's been really hard and I don't feel great about this." And really share some of the hard things. If you know that person's going to be present and not try to distract you or not try to fix it, but just really listen deeply to your experience and your feelings, because we're 100% whole humans. We don't just have the happy, smiley feelings. We also have some hard feelings, and babies can have hard feelings too, right from birth, because birth is a pretty big experience and they may need to share some feelings about that. So this is kind of a radical idea, to be with our baby while they're crying without trying to distract them. And another element of hand-in-hand parenting is to really trust your baby. So of course, if you've got any concerns at all about their well-being, about nappy rash, about their nappy being too tight, then you fix those things or you seek additional support. But if you feel really confident that they've been fed, their temperature is comfortable, but they are whole humans. They do have feelings. And when they know they've got you, that might be the time they choose to share those feelings. And you can feel really good about, I am here with you. I am a person you can trust with these feelings. And again, it's like we're practicing, because as a parent of a 14-year-old, we really want our kids to know that we're people they can come to with their big feelings. It's super important over the course of their whole lives. So that's stay listening. And I want to really emphasize dads and the difference dads can make. It can be really hard when a new baby is born for a dad to notice just how much he's needed. But research shows that dads who have extended time with their new babies are likely to build a very solid relationship, and those bonds last right through. It's such a powerful time to create those imprints and those connections. So I just want to emphasize that those two tools I've mentioned, special time, so spending that delighted one-on-one playtime, and stay listening, being with whatever your baby chooses to share with you, whether that's big tears, um, is a great way for dad to bond with baby as well. And I would say that the tears, particularly if dad can be with those, is so precious and special. I don't know about your experience, but mine has been that people I can cry with and share my deeper feelings with, I feel very connected to, and our babies are just the same. So special time and stay listening are really wonderful ways for dads to bond with their babies. So these tools that I've shared, special time and stay listening, are pretty simple. They're really about our presence and our warm attention. But for overwhelmed, exhausted, isolated parents, they're really hard. It's really hard to be with a crying baby, and it can be really hard to play or to be delighted when we feel exhausted. So hand-in-hand parenting also builds in a wonderful tool for parents where we get our needs met. It's called listening partnerships, and it's something you can do between co-parents or friends. But we also say that it's kind of easier to do with someone you don't know very well at all. So there's various pathways to find a listening partner, and I'll share those with you in the email that I send out after this webinar. So what listening partnerships are is a regular meeting between two parents, can be a group, but usually two parents. So it's maybe a weekly meeting. At the same time, we might meet in person, we might meet via the phone or via Zoom. And we say, okay, we're going to meet for an hour and I'm going to talk for 30 minutes and you're going to talk for 30 minutes. So we divide the time in half. And what that time looks like is that one person gets to talk about whatever's on their mind, while the other person just listens. And they listen without any judgment or criticism or advice. It's really confidential. That's a huge piece of the puzzle. And they listen without referring back. So the next week when you meet, they wouldn't say, oh, how did that problem go? So whatever's said within that listening time stays there. Again, we can use a timer, and that's a really lovely way to make sure the time is equal between the two listening partners. So I do this regularly. I meet up with someone from the other side of the world. She always says that, you know, the other side of the world is just the right amount of distance for her to feel really safe connecting in this way. We meet. Hi, nice to see you. Who'd like to go first? I set the timer for 30 minutes and she talks for 30 minutes while I just listen, holding the thought, what a good parent she is, what a great job she's doing, and without trying to fix it. When the timer goes off, I say, thank you for sharing. And then it's my turn to talk and to share what's going on for 30 minutes. And at the end, we say, thanks so much. Goodbye. See you next week. It's a really fantastic relationship because you don't have to send a Christmas card. You don't have to fix any problems for that person. Your sole job is to listen. And it's almost too simple to be true. It's so simple, but it's so profoundly helpful for parents to have a space where they can just be themselves, bring whatever feelings they've got, delight, overwhelm, anger, whatever feelings they've got are welcome in that space. And over time, we find that it really builds parents' capacity to feel confident. So it really builds confidence. And it's particularly as a new parent, this is such a beautiful thing because there's so much information coming at us. Finding your way through that is really tricky. And I think finding a space where you get to figure out, what do you think? What's important to you as a family? What are your values? How do you want to do this parenting thing? Is just so powerful because the problem solving you do in that space is really three-dimensional and very realistic and very, very effective. Whereas you could ask an expert or another person, what should I do about this problem? And they'd give you a million ideas, but they don't know you, your story, your child in the same way that you do. So I really believe in this process as an incredibly supportive, nurturing tool for parents to get the support they need to in turn show up for their kids. So if that's something that's of interest to you, you could join one of our longer workshops. We almost always include that because we find it so powerful for parents to have that space. Or you could join the Hand in Hand Parenting app and search for a listening partner on there. So I just want to finish off with the key messages for today. Again, connection. You really can't go wrong. Whatever the problem, if you focus on connection, focus on that relationship between you, that is really going to bring a solution to any problem that you're having. It's really powerful stuff. Remembering that you deserve support as you do this incredibly important job is so powerful. Special time will build your relationship with your child, will build their intelligence, will build the trajectory of your relationship over time. Is such a beautiful thing. I know one lovely story of two boys who are 8 and 10 in the States who lived about 4 hours from Disneyland, and they'd been doing special time every night for years with their parents. But they were going to Disneyland on this day, and Mum and Dad said, okay, boys, we'll get back late at night so we won't have time for special time. And the boys, aged about 8 and 10, had a little conference together and came back and said, can we leave Disneyland early? We want to get back in time for special time. And it really does become that important for our kids. It's something that they absolutely love, that time with you each day to build your connection and your relationship. Another key message is that crying with a warm, unworried listener will help your baby clear out tension and fear and let her know that she's safe and loved. I want to emphasize again the importance of dads. You are super important. You have a lifelong influence and you hold their little hearts in your hands. So thank you for everything you do. And finally, I think probably the biggest message is that if you can find someone who can listen to you without judgment or advice, without interrupting, That's going to resource you so much as you do this important work. Now, I'd love to encourage you to experiment with these ideas. Please don't feel like you ever have to do anything. You are the expert in your family. You're the authority in your family and your life. And you're like a scientist. You get to experiment and see how it feels and how it looks for you. I'd love to also encourage you to attend any other workshops with us that are coming up. You can see those on our website, miralinga.org.au. And also I'll share a link to the New Parent podcasts in the email that I send out after this webinar. That's a great resource of about 15, 10-minute little audio snippets with lots more information about these tools specifically for new parents. And I hope that the ideas you've heard have given you some, some new perspectives or some new ideas, or deepened your understanding of existing ones. So thanks so much for being here, and hope to see you at another workshop soon.